All right, is everything set up? I think we're good. Alrighty. Looks like we are live on YouTube. Is that correct? Okay. Very good. Welcome everyone. Bienvenidos a todo el mundo. A ver, ya vamos a arrancar en 2 segundos. Ok, súper. Ya creo que estamos vivos en Instagram y también en YouTube. Entonces vamos a esperar unos 2 minutos para que la gente pueden unirse. Listo. All right. Good evening, everyone. Just one moment and we will go ahead and get started. So, for the last 2 weeks, I've been on a little vacation and now we are back. So, I'm very excited to be back with you guys here and to be talking about idioms, especially business English idioms. So, if you have any questions, as always, put them in the chat and I'll be periodically looking over to answer any questions that you guys have. So, we'll see what we got. We'll go ahead and get started right now. Welcome, Cleo. Very good. Okay, so we'll go ahead and begin. So, la primera cosa que vamos a hacer hoy es leer el diálogo y en ese diálogo hay muchos dichos de inglés para negocios. Entonces, vamos a leer eso y después vamos a hablar de esos dichos, pues. Entonces, vamos a arrancar. Entonces, okay. So, hey Emma, I'm kind of in the dark about the new project you're working on. Can you bring me up to speed? Well, I let Jeremy talk me into it. I honestly thought it wasn't going to fly. But we got it up and running at the 11th hour. So, what is it exactly? Oh, it's as clear as mud. We're going to overhaul the accounting software to make it easier for people who aren't accountants. It's better than paying it's better than paying top dollar for a new system. Ah, that was my recommendation years ago, but it got shot down. Water under the bridge though. I wish you luck. All right. So, as you guys can see, we have quite a few idioms here in this dialogue. So today we will be talking about the idioms one by one, and the goal for today is I really want you guys to be able to actually use these idioms after the class. So today we'll be doing a lot more examples and talking more about how to actually study and learn new words and phrases in English. A ver. So, our first idiom is in the dark. So, if you are in the dark about something, it means that you are uninformed. You are unaware of something important. So, for example, I'm kind of in the dark about the new project. So, en español, eso sería como no estar enterado o estar en la oscuridad. Entonces, so the typical structure we use is followed by about. So typically, in the dark is followed by about. So you could say, I'm in the dark about something. So it's very key that we use this preposition about after. And it's commonly used in a negative way. So when we say that we are in the dark about something, typically it's not a good thing. It's typically bad to be in the dark. We typically feel left out. We feel sad that we are in the dark about something. So it's not a positive thing to be in the dark. So, and the nuance, it implies that someone should have told you about it. And you could also say you're kind of left out of the loop. como no estar al tanto. ¿Qué pena con eso? But yeah, that's pretty much how we use in the dark. So let's go ahead and talk about how to actually learn and be able to use this phrase. So when we're learning new words in English, it's very important to learn them in a sentence. If you just learn the phrase in the dark, it means don't know. Then when you try to use it, it's going to be very difficult because you have to kind of create the whole sentence in your head and figure out where it goes in the sentence. It's much easier to learn the word in a sentence. So, yeah, you could say that if you learn a word by itself, it's like you have a key, but you don't know what door the key unlocks. So it's kind of useless. So what we're going to do now is we are going to look at a bunch of sentences within the dark so that you guys get a good idea of how it works. All right. So we'll start off with our typical video examples. So we're going to go in the dark about.
Of dollars in aid to Ukraine, and Congress is in the dark about why.
Okay. So we're going to go back 5 seconds.
Froze hundreds of millions of dollars in aid to Ukraine, and Congress is in the dark about why.
Okay, this is a very good example. So here he says, Trump froze, and we'll make it simpler. We'll say Trump stopped. We'll say millions of dollars in aid to Ukraine, and Congress is in the dark about why. So he's trying to say that the Congress of the US, like the parliament, the law-making authority, doesn't know why this happened. So they are in the dark. Just like if I turn off this light, I am in the dark. I don't know what is around me. So we'll move on to another example. All right. Welcome in to everyone else just joining here, Midi, Boris, and Serena. Welcome. If you guys have any questions, feel free to let me know. All right. We'll move on to the next example. All right.
We're in the dark about who we are and what's possible in our lives.
Okay. This is another great example. She says we're in the dark about who we are and what's possible. So we are in the dark about who we are and what's possible. So we don't know who we are, what we can achieve in life. So after you learn a new phrase like this, it's very important to make example sentences. So these sentences that we found here are quite good, but they may be a little bit advanced for some people. And so that's why we're going to use ChatGPT to help us out a little bit. So I have made a little prompt here, but pretty much every time you come across a new word or a new phrase, you want to create a lot of sentences with it so that you can review and understand the grammar. So let me see where my prompt is. Okay, here we go. So it's very simple. And this prompt, you can type it in Spanish and French and Italian, it doesn't matter, but you can just type very simply. I am learning English and I am studying this word. Can you create some example sentences at intermediate, advanced, beginner level, and in a business context, in a journalism context, in a communications context? And write a few general and specific examples. So I'll plug this in and we'll see what examples we get. So this would be kind of the second step of learning a new phrase. Okay, All right, very good. And then, of course, you can also ask it to provide translations into your native language. So in a previous message, I had asked it to provide translations into Spanish. So let's see what we have here. Let me actually make this a bit bigger. Okay. That should be better for you guys to see. So the first sentence here, I was completely in the dark about their surprise party plans. Estaba completamente en la oscuridad sobre los planes para la fiesta sorpresa. She felt in the dark when her friends stopped responding to her messages. Se sintió en la oscuridad cuando sus amigos dejaron de responderle. So you can see kind of how it's used here, and then we can look in a business context. The interns were kept in the dark about the company's restructuring plans. A los pasantes las mantuvieron en la oscuridad sobre los planes de reestructuración de la empresa. Bit of a tongue twister there. And then you can see a few more examples. Now, a really good way to study with these examples is you want to read them, understand them, but then you want to try to play with the examples and make them your own. So you kind of want to be able to change out different parts of the sentence so you can customize it. So for example here, I was completely in the dark about their surprise party plans. You could think maybe, okay, maybe I could say I was totally in the dark. Or I could say I was completely in the dark about something else, for example. I was completely in the dark about our family vacation or something like this. So once you have the example, you want to read it and understand it and then start to change it and kind of make it your own. And then eventually you want to write these examples down or use some kind of a flashcard software to create flashcards to study later. And again, I would recommend using the whole sentence. So what we can do here is we can actually just put these in a spreadsheet for now, and then later we can put them into a software like Quizlet, for example. Okay, let's see. All right, so I already have a few that I was working on here. This website is called Quizlet. It's a free flashcard software. It's quite good and it's free. They try to make you pay, but you don't have to pay. Just use it for free. So I would put the English on the front and your native language on the back. And the idea is as you're creating this card, you're also studying a little bit. So you kind of read the sentence, you understand it, and then think about how you could change the sentence. So for example, number 2, she felt in the dark when her friends didn't tell her why they were upset. It's okay. Okay, so you can say, I was in the dark. I felt in the dark. Okay? And so you can see the different verbs and other things that you can use around this one here. So, do we have any questions about this topic so far? About, kind of how we can create examples and how we can truly study these words. Because if you're here and you are listening to me and then you go and you do something else, you're probably not going to remember this. But if you take some time to write down some example sentences and then go back later and look at them, this is really going to help you to remember this information. But anyway, so if you guys want, if you have a couple minutes, if you could make an example sentence with in the dark and put it in the messages. But we're going to go ahead and move on to our next verb. Our next idiom, sorry. All right. Welcome in everyone who just joined here. We're talking about business English idioms. So we just talked about in the dark, to be in the dark, which is when you don't know something important that's happening. like a plan or details about a work project or something like this. All right. Idiom number 2 is bring me up to speed. So when someone says bring me up to speed, it means they want the updated information. Es como ponerme al día, ponerme al tanto, actualizarme. Es así. Entonces, so it's very common to say, can you please bring me up to speed? Let's say that, yeah, you miss a meeting at work. And after the meeting, you have to ask your colleague, hey, can you bring me up to speed? What did I miss in this meeting? So you want to get an update on the latest information. So it's very common that we use on. So bring me up to speed on the new project. So you can say bring me up to speed in general or bring me up to speed on. All right. Yeah, as we mentioned earlier, this is great for meetings. And yeah, get up to speed is a related idiom. But let's go ahead and see how it is used in context. So we'll go ahead and look at some videos first, and then we'll look at some other example sentences. All right. And then here, of course, you can always substitute the pronoun. So you could say, bring me up to speed, or you could say, bring you up to speed, depending on who's involved.
What you or you have talked to, and the new person coming in says, bring me up to speed on this, or I need, and repeat what you did.
Okay. So someone new joins the conversation and they say, bring me up to speed. So for example, if you arrive late to a meeting, you could say, hey, sorry I'm late. Could you bring me up to speed? So that's a good one here. We'll add this to our list. Bring me up to speed. So you could say, sorry for being late. Can you bring me up to speed? Okay, very good. We'll see what's next.
Can you bring me up to speed on the state of play on breaking the logjam on Eric Fanning's nomination to be Army Secretary?
Okay. This is perfect. This is at the White House. This is a press briefing, so a meeting where the media can ask the president or his staff questions. And so she says, can you bring me up to speed? Angela.
Thanks, Josh. Can you bring me up to speed on the state of play on...
So she's just asking, can you bring me up to speed on some process, something that's happening right now?
On vacation and they get back and they could ask you, hey, can you bring me up to speed? Can you share the...
Okay, so this is actually an English learning video and they're teaching the same phrase. Can you bring me up to speed? So after a vacation, you can ask your coworkers, hey, can you bring me up to speed? What did I miss? So now we'll go ahead and look on ChatGPT and we're going to create some more intermediate level sentences. So for those of you who are just now joining, we are learning business idioms and then we're talking about how to actually learn them and we're using lots of examples in the process. So I'm going to put these in our document here. Give me one moment to update this. Okay, very good. So now we're looking at bring me up to speed. So pretty much every time you learn a new word or phrase in English, you want to learn it in the context of a sentence. So what we did with In the Dark is we asked ChatGPT, create some sentences at an intermediate level in a general context or business context. So let me type here. I'll say, could you please create 5 general examples and 5 business English examples for the phrase bring, we'll say, somebody up to speed. And I'll put provide Spanish translations as well. All right, so first example. I missed the first episode, so my friend brought me up to speed before we watched the next one. So this is perfect. You're watching a series with your friend, you missed something, so he has to bring you up to speed before you guys can move on. All right. She just got back from vacation, so I'm helping her get up to speed. Okay. The new employee was given a briefing to bring her up to speed with company policies. Le dieron una sesión informativa a la nueva empleada para ponerla al tanto de las políticas de la empresa. So, what you can do here is take these examples and write them down or use some kind of an online flashcard software and study these sentences. And when I say study them, I mean read the English and try to remember kind of exactly what it means and then start to play with the sentence. So let's see, for example, this one. What verbs or nouns, how could we change the information around this sentence to make it different? So you could say, before we start the meeting, let me bring everyone up to speed on the latest news, maybe. Let me bring everyone up to speed on the dogs that won't shut up in my neighborhood. Actually, see, very loud. Sorry if you guys can hear these dogs barking, but it doesn't look like they will stop anytime soon. So, but bring me up to speed on the updates with restructuring, things like this. So you can really swap out many things, and that's what you want to do. You want to make these sentences your own. You kind of want to customize these, review them, and when you're in a situation where you need to use them, you'll have a full sentence in your memory instead of just one random phrase that you vaguely understand. So we'll put this on the list and we'll move on to our next word. Do we have any questions? Okay, very good. Can be used in UK or other members of Commonwealth. Yes, as far as I know, all of these phrases can be used all over. So, and you can also ask this here, but from what I understand, yes, you could use this in the UK or in Australia as well. Very good question. But to be sure, we can ask ChatGPT actually. So let's say, are these phrases widely used in the English speaking world or just in the USA? So we'll see what they have to say here. Okay, yeah, very good. So just as I thought, widely used across the English speaking world. So US, yeah, Great Britain, Canada, Australia, all these other English-speaking countries. Okay, very good. But yeah, very good question. Most English is going to be pretty similar between the different countries, but it's always good to ask. So, all right, we'll see if we have any questions here. Okay, all right, very good. So we'll go ahead and move on to our next idiom. I'm going to close this window. Give me one moment. Okay. Hopefully that helps a little bit with the noise. All right. The next idiom is not going to fly. So when we say something isn't going to fly, we mean that it's not going to work or it's not going to be accepted. So, for example, if one employee is mistreating or bullying another employee, the manager will say, hey, that's not going to fly here, or that doesn't fly here, meaning it's not accepted. So it's like we see here in Spanish. No iba a funcionar o no iba a ser aceptado. So, yeah, we can use this kind of to fly is, I guess, the base form to say something like is going to fly or something didn't fly. And so this base of kind of to fly is really the expression. So we use it a lot when we're talking about ideas or proposals that people say will be rejected. So that's the main premise there. But let's look at some examples and then we'll kind of move on and talk more about this one. All right. Okay. So we'll just type in full phrase. Wasn't going, or I'll say isn't in this case. I'll say isn't going to fly.
Yeah.
Or execute.
And 120 ingredients isn't going to fly. But
Exactly.
Okay. So here it looks like some kind of cooking show, and he's saying 120 ingredients isn't going to fly. It's not going to work in whatever context.
For a year, that this just isn't going to fly with the American people and with.
Okay. This is a great example. She says something isn't going to fly with the American people, meaning that the American people are not going to accept whatever she is talking about. So we'll put here, we'll say, not going to fly. So, and we'll put the example. We'll say, yeah, that isn't, for example, that isn't going to fly with the American people. All right, very good. Let's see what else we have.
Enter, and unfortunately this isn't going to fly. Prototype.c.
Okay, so this is, yeah, this is a famous computer science course, and he tries some bit of code, and he says, this isn't going to fly. And he means to say that this piece of code that he tried isn't working. So he says, this isn't going to fly. Okay.
American university. Most of these people are going to know that actually expressing their sexist views isn't going to fly.
Okay, this is also a great example. So here they're talking about kind of office behavior, perhaps. And you see here, most of these people know that expressing their sexist views isn't going to fly. Meaning, in an office setting, if you have views that are like racist or sexist or, yeah, if you have some bad opinions, it's not going to fly. Meaning you can't treat people poorly and you can't discriminate in a professional office. So it's not going to fly. It's not going to be accepted. So let's go ahead and we'll move on and we'll look at some ChatGPT examples and we'll add them to our list. So we'll just say, make me 5 and 5 examples, but for the phrase isn't going to fly. Okay, let's see what we get here. All right, very good. So we get an explanation. It means something won't be accepted, approved, or successful. All right. All right. First example. That excuse isn't going to fly with mom. You still have to clean your room. Esa excusa no va a funcionar con mamá. Igual tienes que limpiar tu cuarto. So this is actually a pretty good example. I remember when I was a kid, my parents would tell me something that's not going to fly, or yeah, this isn't going to fly in our house, or something like this, meaning that I did something bad, or maybe I tried to avoid doing my homework or something, and I was told that's not going to fly. So, all right, very good. Let's look at number 5. Wearing jeans to a wedding isn't going to fly with her family. So here we can kind of swap out some things. So you could say, for example, wearing a hat inside isn't going to fly with her family, or showing up drunk to the wedding isn't going to fly with her family, or isn't going to fly with my brother. You can swap out these different words, and that's really how you start to master and understand how to use these different sentences. So, any questions about something is or isn't going to fly? Anybody have any questions so far? Okay. I tried to pitch the idea, but the boss said it wasn't going to fly with upper management. So, intenté presentar la idea, pero el jefe dijo que no iba a ser aceptada por la alta dirección. So, not going to be accepted, not going to fly. Okay. So, we'll go ahead and add these to the list, and we'll move on to our next idiom. But yeah, do you guys understand what I mean when I'm talking about the way that you should study these so that you can actually use them? Kind of to make some examples and review the examples and things like this. All right, moving on. Okay, so now we have a little quiz. So all I want you guys to do is to read the sentence, and fill in the blank with in the dark, bring me up to speed, or wasn't going to fly. So take a moment to read and tell me which one goes with which. So put 1, the answer, 2, the answer, just like this. All right, so number 1, I had no idea about the change. I was completely in the dark. Very good, in the dark. Number 2, can someone bring me up to speed on the new project status? And number 3, I knew the idea wasn't going to fly with upper management. Okay, very good. We'll go ahead and move on to the next one. Up and running. So if something is up and running, it means that it's functioning properly after setup or a launch. So yeah, it's very good. When we say that we got something up and running, it means that we got something working. Oh, JP, thank you very much. Welcome. Okay, very good. Thank you for answering as well, Cleo. Yeah, very good. Number 1, in the dark. Perfect. All right. So es como en español, en marcha o que algo ya está funcionando. Entonces, so typically with up and running, we're going to use get. So we'll say get something up and running to talk about the change. And then if something is up and running, it means that it is already working. So a lot of times in English, get signifies a change. So for example, you could say I'm getting hungry, like I'm becoming hungry, or I'm getting tired, becoming tired. So when we get something up and running, it's all about a change. And if something is up and running, it's already que ya está funcionando. Entonces, so this is often used for big projects, systems. It's very common in business English when you have some big thing. You want to get it up and running. All right, very good. And the last thing, the nuance here, it does imply that a lot of effort was taken. Think about a train. When a train is first kind of starting, it's very slow, and then once it gets up and running, then it starts going very quickly. So when you think about up and running, you can think about a train moving quickly down the track. So now we're going to go ahead and look at our examples here. So we're going to go here, up and running.
Is the group that has to keep the website up and running 24/7.
Very good. So here it's interesting. She says keep the website up and running. So es como maintain or mantener el sitio web funcionando 24/7. So this is another way to say it, to keep something up and running. So let's go here and we're going to go up and running. All right. So we'll put this example. They have to keep the website up and running 24/7. All right. Let's look at the next one.
Will do in a week, a month, or a year once ACME is up and running.
Okay. So here they're talking about
in a week, a month, or a year once ACME is up and running.
They're talking about some software, and once it's up and running, we can start making predictions. So once it's working, we can do that. All right, we'll look at one more.
Once SpaceX has Starship up and running, it could be modified and turned into its own space.
So here again, a big project like a spaceship. Once it's up and running, then things will change once it's working. So we'll go ahead and look at some of our AI examples for this one as well. So I'll just say, do the same for up and running and use different verbs before it, like keep, get, and be. So we should see some very good examples here. All right, first one. I just got my new laptop up and running and it's working great. Acabo de poner en marcha mi nuevo portátil y funciona muy bien. All right, so here we see poner en marcha. I just got my new laptop up and running. Here you could swap out other words. You could say, I just got my new printer up and running. I just got my new, my new air fryer up and running. So remember, when you look at these sentences, you want to kind of try to make it your own. You want to look at the sentence and think, okay, what words could I swap out and how could I kind of change the structure to make it work for me? So here's a good one. The Wi-Fi wasn't working this morning, but now it's up and running again. So this is perfect. This happens all the time. Maybe there's a big storm and the Wi-Fi stops working, but the technician comes to your house and he fixes it, and then it's up and running again. All right. So let's look at one in the business section. Okay. After the cyber attack, it took 2 days for the servers to be fully up and running again. So, meaning to be working as they should. So, do we have any questions here so far about up and running? All right, so I will put these here in the notes so you guys can review them after. We'll move on to our next word. All right, at the 11th hour. This means at the last possible moment. So this example involves both of the last two. We got it up and running at the 11th hour. So en español es al último momento o en el último minuto. So for example, let's say you have a project due at midnight and you finish it at the 11th hour. It's like saying that the day is over at 12 hours, so 11 is right before. It's like this, but it just means at the last possible moment. Typically, when we use this structure, we are talking about doing something at the 11th hour. So he completed the project at the 11th hour, or he closed the sale at the 11th hour, something like this. So commonly used for emergencies or deadlines, things like this. So, and typically, we've all experienced this. You do something at the 11th hour because you forget to do it or you procrastinate doing it. So let's look at a few of our examples and then we'll move on. So we'll go here and look. Say at the 11th hour.
For example, he submitted the file at the 11th hour.
Oh, okay. So this is another popular YouTube creator who makes English videos, and she's talking about the same idiom actually. So he submitted the file at the 11th hour. He did something at the last minute. So we'll put this on our document. We'll say at the 11th hour. He submitted the file at the 11th hour. Okay. All right. Where are we? Here we go.
Something to us at the 11th hour and told us we had to vote on it in 30 minutes. That they brought something to us. Had been down this road before with this administration. I mean, this wasn't the first time that they brought something to us at the 11th hour and told us we had to vote on it in 30 minutes.
Okay. So this is another great example. He says they brought us something at the 11th hour and wanted us to vote on it. So right before the deadline, the politician proposed a new bill. So maybe trying to be clever or sneaky, they brought this bill at the 11th hour, at the last possible moment. Okay.
Einstein leaked Professor Ford's letter at the 11th hour to derail this process.
Again, another political situation. They're talking about someone revealing important information at the 11th hour, a very late time in the process. So, any questions about how we can use at the 11th hour? So we'll go ahead and we'll get some more examples here. So do the same for at the 11th hour. Okay. And for everybody who is just now joining us, we are practicing English idioms, and we're using a lot of examples, and we're making sure to use them in sentences. And after we're looking at these new sentences, we are trying to kind of swap out words and phrases and personalize the sentences a little bit, because this will help you to remember and be able to use these phrases. So let's look at the sentences for at the 11th hour. Do we have any questions? Okay. So he handed in his assignment at the 11th hour, just before the deadline. So here you could say he handed in his assignment, or you could say he handed in his report. He arrived to work, things like this. Okay. And then when we talk about business, you could say the deal was signed at the 11th hour, just before the investor backed out. So at the last minute. El trato se firmó en el último minuto, justo antes de que el inversor se echara para atrás. So right before the investor backed out. So do we have any questions about this so far at the 11th hour? All right, so we'll add this to our document and we'll go ahead and we'll move on to the next idiom. All right, so we're going to take a pause here and we are going to do a quiz. So all I want you guys to do is fill in the blank using up and running or at the 11th hour. So take a second to read the sentences and then submit your answers in the chat. And of course, if you have a question, put it in the chat as well. So I'll wait here for a minute so you guys have a chance to work on that. All right, any questions about where to put any of these things? All right, so for number one, the correct answer is it's finally up and running now. So it's finally up and running. Okay. Number two, at the 11th hour. And number three, up and running again. So the IT team got the software up and running just in time for the product launch. So any questions about up and running or at the 11th hour? All right, very good. All right, so the next one, clear as mud. This is an ironic phrase and it means very confusing or unclear. So mud es como barro en español. Entonces el barro no es claro para nada. Y sí, como más confuso que claro, no se entiende nada. Y no sé, mi profe de español me dijo que, por ejemplo, en el colegio, allá en Bogotá, dijeron que, pues, decían si algo estaba que no estaba muy claro, ellos decían que, sí, es como tan claro como el río Bogotá o tan claro como el río Medellín. Y si alguien, pues, vive en esas ciudades, uno sabe que esos ríos, pues, el parte corre por la ciudad, es como, sí, no es claro para nada. Entonces, en inglés, we say clear as mud. Entonces, es como este. Es un frase sarcástico, más o menos. So, it's clear as mud. The opposite is something is crystal clear, meaning it's very clear, it's understandable. But if something's clear as mud, no se entiende nada. And yeah, here we see it's quite ironic. It's a bit sarcastic. So it's fine. You can use it, but maybe certain people you are unable to use it with them because they're a bit serious or something like that. So we'll look at a few examples here. and then we'll move on. Clear as mud.
About as clear as mud, in my opinion. Yeah, they're not very clear either.
Okay, so I believe they're talking about maybe the instructions, but let's get some context.
What do you think? These are about as clear as mud. YouTube video is in order. Maybe a YouTube video is in order. 4 of these things.
Okay, so they're trying to assemble something they purchased, and they're looking at the instructions, and they say it's about as clear as mud. So we'll look.
Maybe a YouTube video is in order. What do you think? These are about as clear as mud, in my opinion. Yeah, they're not very clear either.
Maybe a YouTube video is in order. In order has...
Okay, all right. Move on to the next one.
If something is as clear as...
Okay, we're getting mostly other English teachers. All right, and then we got Lucy again. Here we go.
So that they're told as clear as mud that, you know, in 7 years' time, if this...
Okay, so he's describing something related to property.
Perfect. You guys are going, that's clear as mud. Thank you for that. Remember, Jerusalem.
Okay, so he's saying that's clear as mud. Thank you for that. But you hear his tone is sarcastic. It's clear as mud. Yes, they're saying, I don't understand what you want to say. So now we'll do the same thing. We'll generate a few more examples. So I'll say now do the same for clear as mud. All right. So is a sarcastic expression meaning something is confusing or unclear. So he tried to explain the math problem, but it was clear as mud. And typically we would say as clear as mud. So say that would be the grammatically correct way to say it. To say something is as clear as mud. So he tried to explain the math problem, but it was as clear as mud. Trató de explicar el problema de matemáticas, pero fue tan claro como el barro. Okay, yeah. So I don't know if you guys actually say this tan claro como el barro in español, but as I said earlier, in different areas, maybe you would say es tan claro como el río Bogotá, or something like this. So maybe there's a dirty river in your city, and you say, yes, it's as clear as mud. So the same concept. The onboarding process is as clear as mud. No one knows what to do first. So take a second and think, what is something in your job or in your life that is as clear as mud? Something that's quite confusing. But we'll go ahead and add these to our list, and then we'll move on to our next word. So we'll say as clear as mud. All right. Very good. Okay. Any questions so far? All right. So we'll look here at overhaul. So an overhaul is to completely change or renovate something. So you can say that we're going to overhaul something or we're going to do an overhaul. It can work as a noun or it can work as a verb. Es como reestructurar o renovar por completo en español. All right. So yeah, to overhaul typically a process or something like this in your company. So it's very often used in many different sectors, and it's talking about a massive change. So if you change something small, this is not an overhaul. But an overhaul would be kind of you start over from the bottom and you do everything again. So we'll do that. All right. So let's look at a few examples on English. All right, overhaul.
With our overhaul of the Transition Assistance Program, hundreds of thousands of departing service members and their spouses have received training to plan.
Okay. So here Obama is talking about an overhaul of some program. So he's saying we restructured, we changed completely this program, and as a part of that, good things happen.
Network. In 2020, Ring did a big privacy overhaul.
Okay. They did a big privacy overhaul. So here we see overhaul is used as a noun. They did an overhaul. So you can overhaul something or you can do an overhaul. Both of these work pretty well. So they're saying the company renovated, they changed things a lot.
Or overhaul have dominated.
I think
regressive reforms or overhaul have dominated.
Let's be honest, the website is in need of an overhaul.
All right, very good. So another English video, but it's a great example. The website is in need of an overhaul. We need to renovate, to change the website a lot. So, any questions about overhaul? Let me check over here on YouTube. All right, we're doing good. Awesome. So we'll get some more examples here. We'll say do the same for overhaul. Show examples as a verb and a noun. Okay, so as a verb, we need to overhaul, or we had to overhaul the entire plumbing system after the leak. Tuvimos que revisar y reparar todo el sistema de plomería después de la fuga. So, yeah, talking about what we had to do there. Okay? The kitchen got a complete overhaul, new cabinets, floors, everything. So here, think about how could you change this sentence? The bathroom got a complete overhaul. New toilets, new sink, everything. So think about how you can customize and how you can change up these sentences. All right. Now in business, we're planning to overhaul our marketing strategy next quarter. So here you could say we planned to overhaul our strategy, but we didn't. Or, for example, we're planning to overhaul our hiring strategy next quarter or next year or something like this. So remember, look at the sentence and try to change some things and really review these structures. So we'll go ahead and add these to the list and then we'll move on. So any questions so far about any of these words or phrases, any doubts anybody has? All right, very good. So I believe we have one more to finish up for today. So let's check it out here. Oh no, we have a few more actually. How many more do we have? Let me see how many more we have here. Paying top dollar, Shot down water under the bridge. Okay, that's good. All right, we have 3 more here. So we'll start going through these a little bit quicker because we're kind of running out of time here. But the next one is to pay top dollar. And this just means to spend a lot of money on something. So, yeah, paying top dollar. Pagar un dineral o pagar mucho. So, and typically we say pay top dollar for something. So, when you're paying top dollar, typically it means that you're getting a very good quality product or something like that. And it's not necessarily good or bad. To pay top dollar just means you paid a high price. So let's look at a few examples here on Youglish. And we're going to put it in the past. We're going to say paid top dollar.
Who came here, they knew they were not going to get paid top dollar, but it's
So here they use it in a negative way. He says, these people knew they were not going to get paid top dollar. So people joined the university and they knew that the salary would not be very high, but they still joined. So they knew they weren't going to make top dollar, high salary.
First, I paid top dollar for this place, and this noise is simply the worst.
Okay. I paid top dollar for this place.
This means you're not always getting all of those gigahertz you paid top dollar for.
So here he's talking about some kind of software, and he says you're not getting the gigahertz that you paid top dollar for, meaning you paid a high price for something and maybe you didn't get it here. So we'll go ahead and move on. Do we have any questions about pay top dollar? All right, go ahead and we'll move on and see how we can use this with ChatGPT. So we'll say do the same for pay top dollar. So we'll look at a few examples. Okay. So this structure is pretty simple. We say pay top dollar for a thing. So she paid top dollar for this. I paid top dollar for this sweatshirt. Things like that. And then sometimes it's followed by two if it's followed by a verb. So you see here, people are willing to pay top dollar to get front row concert tickets. Es como para or por. It's like in order to. La gente está dispuesto a pagar un dineral por conseguir entradas en primera fila para el concierto. So that's the main idea. And then in business, it's the same idea, but the verbs and nouns are going to be different. So talking about paying top dollar for a service or paying top dollar for an employee, things like this. So we'll copy and paste this onto the Word document and we'll go ahead and we'll move on. Do we have any questions about paying top dollar? Okay. All right. So we'll pause here for a second and do a quick quiz. So what I'd like you to do is fill in the blank with the correct answer. So we'll take a couple minutes here so you guys can read this and put your answers in the chat. All right. So, number one is I don't get this report. It's as clear as mud. Yeah, it's not very clear. We need to overhaul our sales process. We need to change it completely. We can't keep paying top dollar for software that underperforms. So we can't pay a lot of money for bad software. Okay, very good. All right, so the next one is shot down. To be shot down just means to be rejected. So rechazado, or sí, echar abajo una propuesta. So when you have an idea and it gets rejected, it is shot down. It's also used in a romantic context. Let's say that you see a man or woman that you find is attractive and you go say, hey, how are you? Would you like to go get coffee? And they say, no, sorry. No, I have a partner, whatever. You would say you got shot down. So you got rejected in this case. So here we see my idea got shot down, or they shot it down. So you see, we can say something got shot down, or just something, they shot something down. So you can see a couple different formats here. So we'll look here at how we use this in the proper context. We'll say shot it down.
You find people shouted down or disinvolved. And they shouldn't have shot it down. I don't know what the
Okay, so here we're seeing a lot of literal translations, because to shoot something down could also mean like a bird in the sky and someone shoots it with a gun and the bird falls down. So it's shot down. But I'm trying to find an example that's a bit better here. So shot it down. We'll say got. We'll say get shot down. We'll see how that looks.
What is creepy? The guys who get shot down by making too much eye contact.
Okay. So this is how to hold a conversation like a man. Okay. This is like one of these videos teaching men how to talk to women. And he says, guys who get shot down by making too much eye contact. So people who get rejected for this reason. All right.
War, you can't do that. You'll get shot down. So
You can't do that. You will get shot down. So he's saying that people are telling him you will get rejected if you try this.
You overall. So if you prematurely asked for her number and got shot down, it's okay.
Okay, more advice for men, but he says if you got shot down, meaning you were rejected by a woman. So let's look here at ChatGPT and see what other examples we can find. We'll say now do the same for get shot down, meaning to get rejected. Okay, so a few examples here. I asked for a date. I got shot down. This is a good one here. His idea for a family vacation in the mountains got shot down by everyone. So, su idea de ir de vacaciones a la montaña fue rechazada por todos. This is good. So, in business, we often talk about ideas getting shot down. So, you can say that you got shot down as a person, or that your idea got shot down as well. So, both ideas and people can get shot down, and people can shoot you down as well. So, look at number 5. I mentioned quitting my job and traveling, but my parents shot me down right away. So, all right, so we'll see, what happens there. But that's a very good example. Okay. So in business, it's the same thing, but the vocabulary is different. So my proposal to expand into Latam got shot down in the meeting. It was rejected in the meeting. So we'll go ahead and copy and paste this into our notes document. Let's say shot down, and we'll continue here. All right. So any questions so far about any of these new words or phrases that we've been learning today? We just learned shot down, and I believe we just got one more before we do a big review of everything. All right, so the last one is water under the bridge. So if you imagine a bridge and the water is going under it, the water flows in one direction and it never comes back. So it flows under the bridge and it just keeps going. It keeps going, it keeps going, and it never comes back. So it's kind of like you have something happen in the past and you just let it flow away. And it flows away and you never bring it back to try to solve it or have a fight with someone about it. It's just something that happened in the past and it just keeps flowing. So it's water under the bridge. So it's a very common phrase in English when you have a bad experience with someone, but you choose to forgive them, you choose to forget this experience, and you move on. So en español dicen ya pasó, o como borrón y cuenta nueva, like a clean slate. So typically we'll just say that something is water under the bridge. So the structure is very simple. Oh, that's water under the bridge. Or we'll just say water under the bridge in its own sentence after someone mentions something. Hey, I'm so sorry about this situation from last year, and the person will say, water under the bridge. It's not a problem. So it's very good when you need to move on and kind of to move on from a past conflict. So it shows forgiveness and letting go of past frustration. So let's see what we have here. I'll type in water under the bridge.
Worried. Number 5 is a lovely one. It is water under the bridge. Water under the bridge. This refers to problems or disagreements that someone or a group of people had a long time ago, but now they don't care about it anymore.
Okay, very good. Another English video, but a very nice explanation.
Scenario, that's now water under the bridge. We'll have to look at some funding options on.
Okay, so he says
we got a few months. We've got a few months. I think if, the good news is if we can get through, we got through the prison scenario, that's now water under the bridge.
So he talks about some scenario and now it's water under the bridge. It's no longer a problem.
At all. I think, in fact, people say it's water under the bridge. Let's move forward. Let's get an agreement on what we do.
So something is water under the bridge. Let's move forward. Something passed, we can forget it and move on. So very helpful phrase in business when you have a conflict with someone and you need to say, I don't care anymore. It's water under the bridge. We can move on. So water. So we'll type here. Do the same for water under the bridge. Okay. So a couple examples here. The structure, and this is very simple. You just say that something is water under the bridge. So but it is all water under the bridge now. We used to compete a lot as kids, but now it's water under the bridge. Solíamos competir mucho cuando éramos niños, pero eso ya es agua pasada. Eso no he escuchado en español. It's agua pasada. Very interesting. I haven't heard this before, but it seems like that's Correct. So, all right, very good. So I'll put this in our document and we'll do a couple quizzes. Water under the bridge. Okay. All right, so now what we'll do is a little bit of a review of everything we've learned here today. So, do we have any questions before we move on? So, what we're going to do, I want you guys to take the word and put it in the correct blank. So, I'll give you guys a couple seconds to work on that. Okay. So, number one is, but it still got shot down. So her pitch, her proposal still got rejected. Number two, we're going to overhaul. We're going to renovate everything, the entire onboarding process. Number three, don't worry about that email mistake. It's water under the bridge now. It's water under the bridge. It's not important. All right. So now we're going to review everything. So take a second, read these, and put your answers in the chat, and I'll let you know if you're correct or incorrect. All right. Yeah, very good, Nancy. Okay. I was completely... Is this for the one we just hear? Or no? So this one here, yeah. So number one on the last page was shot down. Number two was overhauled. Number three was water under the bridge. But that's all right. Very good try. So now we'll look at this one. Okay. Alrighty, so number one, I was completely in the dark. So if you guys remember, in the dark means you don't know anything about what's going on. You're completely in the dark. Number two, can someone bring me up to speed on what's going on? Someone bring me up to speed. And then number three, the first sign draft just wasn't going to fly, wasn't going to work. Client. And then number four, after a few delays, the new onboarding tool is finally up and running. Very good. Yes, up and running. So any questions? Okay. Okay, very good, Nancy. All right, we'll move on to part two. Okay. Okay, awesome. Thank you. And sorry, there's a bit of a delay between the feed and the messages. So thank you for that information, Nancy. So, all right. And actually, while we're doing this, as we're getting close to the end here, I want to share the notes with everyone here so that you guys can study these and review these sentences. So let me share this with you all. I'll note the link viewer. Okay. All right. So in the chat, I'm going to put a link to the Google Drive file, and I'll do this. I'll also put it on my story on Instagram so that you guys can check out the notes after we finish, and you can review these sentences. Remember, the best way to study is just to review all of these sentences and try to change out the words and use them as if they were your own. So it's about sentences, it's not about words. Okay, so number 5. We submitted the revised plan at the 11th hour, literally 5 minutes before the deadline. Honestly, the new workflow diagram is as clear as mud. I have no idea what it's supposed to show. We've decided to overhaul the whole app interface. So start everything over again. Okay. And then number 3, welcome to everyone who just joined. We're doing a review of all of the idioms we learned today. So we're reading and then putting in the idiom in the correct spots. So number 8, why are we, for a new CRM, why are we paying top dollar? Why are we paying this high amount of money? I pitched that same idea last year, but it got shot down. It got rejected in the first meeting. Number 10, it was a frustrating project, but it's water under the bridge now. It's no longer a problem. It's a kind of a situation. Think about the water. The water just passes on. It doesn't come back. It just flows down the river. So the situation just flows down the river. So, all right. So I believe that's all we have for today. Guys, follow me on Instagram and you'll see on the story, I will post the link to the notes. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Remember, I do offer one-on-one and group classes. If you have a group of friends or colleagues and you'd like to study English, let me know. So my email is here. It's grant@businessasusualenglish.com, or you can just send me a DM on Instagram. So yeah. Anyway, yeah, I need to update this here. So this is my first class back after my short vacation. But if you guys have any questions, please send me a message. I'm happy to help you guys with anything you need. And please check out this this document that we have here. This is going to be very helpful. When you're studying these new words, you really need to study them in sentences. So I would advise you to read the examples and then to make your own examples as well. So if you think, oh, I can't think of like my own examples, I'm not very creative. It's kind of the point, actually. So if you can't think of example sentences when you're alone by yourself, how are you going to use this in a real situation? So you can start simple by just taking one of these example sentences and literally changing out the subject, changing out the noun. So instead of I asked her out on a date, you can say he asked her out on a date, but he got shot down immediately. Or you could take this one. Every time I suggest a restaurant, I get shot down. So first, take the example sentence and start to change some things, create your own sentences, and if you have questions, you can send me a DM. I'll get back to you. And yeah, that's pretty much all we have for today. So I'll stick around here for a couple more minutes, and if you guys have any other questions, feel free to let me know. And check out my story on Instagram, and you'll see that here in a couple seconds. Yeah, so thank you very much. Nancy, thank you for the kind words. I'm glad you could make it, and I hope you learned something. And if you have questions, of course, send me a message. But yeah, I'll hang out here for a couple minutes if you guys have any other questions. I'm going to put that on my story right now, actually. Let's see what we got. Oh, mm, okay. All right. So I don't see any other questions here. So I'm posting the notes on Instagram right now. But thanks again, everyone, for being here. I hope you guys have a great weekend, and I hope you learned something today. So until next time, bye bye.